Greetings everyone, this is Forcing at your top tier tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up in DOA6. Alright, in our last session we took a look at a Abare, or also known as attacking from disadvantage. In this session we're going to be looking at Yomi. What Yomi is the Japanese term for mind games. What that means is everything that goes along with regards to the meta of a DOA match. The meta usually pertains to kind of like the optimal actions to take in any sort of like situation. This is usually what Yomi refers to. I'll just let you know right now that DOA6 is a very Yomi heavy game. That means that you have to kind of understand the meta that's going on during a match at any certain time, like whatsoever, whether it be at the start of a round, when you're at advantage, when you're at disadvantage, when you get a knockdown, when you knock the opponent away. Like there's many different situations that you always have to be thinking about what is the optimal action to take. Alright, let's start from the top. Alright, with regards to Yomi, Yomi starts right at the beginning of a round. So before the announcer says get ready, fight, I'll just let you know right now, you do have the ability to move at the start of a round, and that does include the ability to even position yourself away from your opponent, position yourself close to your opponent, reposition yourself with regards to different stage hazards and different things like that. Like in this stage around here, the hazards tend to be like around the, obviously like in most stages, the corners, the walls. There's like breakable stuff. There's like some water. There's a water danger zone in the corner there. But from here, aside from this wall here to my to Ayane's left side, there's not really too much with regards to worrying about hazards. But let's just talk about the Yomi with regards to right at the beginning of the round. All right, I'll just set this straight right now. Ayane has a 10 frame jab, a 13 frame elbow or 6p, a 13 frame knee does 20 damage, and a 12 frame 2p that leaves her at neutral and hit. So against most opponents, Ayane, in general, in most opponents, she does get buttons. For instance, she has a 10 frame jab, so the only jabs that she has to worry about are 9 frame jabs, such as Kasumi's. But in general though, one thing she has to keep in mind, for instance, if she's fighting another character that has a 13 frame mid, such as like any of the kind of like the grappler or slower characters, her 2p will basically like beat out like anything they do, unless they do a specific type of low crushing move or move that beats out lows. But alright, I'll use this matchup right here as an example. Alright, Kasumi has a 9 frame jab, 11 frame elbow, and a 12 frame 2p in her, or her 3k is 14 frames, so that's not really a factor in there. So at round 1 fight, if you're in close range with Ayane against Kasumi, you're basically going to have to block at the start of the round. If you think Kasumi's going to jab, then you can 2p. If you think she's going to do an elbow, you're either going to block or you could do a sidestep, like a sidestep attack. Although at the start of a round, you start with 2 bars of meter. So if you sidestep attack at the start of the round, you already used up 1/4 segment of your bar, so you're already going to be at a disadvantage. So sometimes even just doing an empty sidestep may be okay. Also, with regards to this matchup, like your 2Ps will trade, but the main thing here to concern you about is Kasumi's 11 frame elbow, because that will be the move that you will have to respect the most. For instance, if you were to get like counter hit by an elbow, like that's Ayane's, that's Kasumi's, like both of them, see, you'll be at minus. The person who gets hit will be at minus 20, so you generally don't want to get hit by that move. So that is something that you do have to like be careful of. So in this instance, I'll say straight up that against Kasumi, Ayane's probably going to have to block, potentially sidestep, or generally if you can, try and create space at the start of a round. In this particular matchup, what Ayane wants to do is make Kasumi fear her counter hit high crush moves. Like Ayane's crush moves and spacing is, for instance, can be really good in Ayane's high crush moves or spacing can be really good in this matchup, but in close range, the elbow is what you're going to be looking out for. So this is like a typical thing to keep in mind if you're, for instance, fighting a character that's faster than you, then yes, you have to block more often than they block. If you think the opponent's going to try and do like a sidestep at the start of a round or in any sort of like given situation when you're in range, The moves that you're going to be using, the stuff that of course is any move that's labeled as tracking. For instance, with someone like Ayane, her KK or even just her K, which is a 12 frame tracking high kick, will be your go-to tracking move. But of course, if you're unsure what tracking move to go for, if you know this opponent's going to sidestep, throws will be your go-to. Like, honestly, forward throws are generally pretty easy to connect. They're 7 frames, and they tend to be your throws which tend to have good range, like 1.6 meters, and some of them I think you can even go further than 1.6 meters. For a forward throw is really good. Like, neutral throws have much crappier range, although they're 2 frames faster. But the main reason why I like forward throws is like go-to throws. Like, this is like, so if a go-to for stop and sidestep, and even if you hit someone who's sidestepping, you get counter throw. You would get counter throw damage, so a 25% damage bonus. So yes, throws are really good against sidestep. However, of course, if you end up if you go for a throw at the wrong time though, then yes, if the opponent does a strike, then you will get high counter blown for that. So you do have to be careful with that. And then at the start of a round, I really don't recommend going for a throw unless you know the opponent's gonna block. If you're playing a faster character than your opponent, then yes, there's a higher chance they may block. But throwing right at the beginning when you're not sure is probably not necessarily the best approach. Like, for instance, if you're starting a match with someone you don't know, just simply blocking at the start of a round, even if your character's around the same speed or faster, is actually okay. Because that's a safe option to do to kind of get a read on your opponent. For instance, if you're using someone like Kasumi or something, they might assume that you're going to try and jab or elbow at the start of round. So even if sometimes if you block or do something different, like a 3K or something like that, you may end up like throwing the opponent off. Once you get a read on your opponent, then you can start inputting like throws and stuff like that. But if you know the opponent's going to sidestep, then yeah, then throws are usually a good option against that. I'll just say one more thing with regards to this matchup. I mean, Kasumi does have a 12 frame mid kick in her 7K, but if that move does get blocked, she's like at minus 30 or something. So this move is basically kind of like a DP like move. This move will only come out. This move is not going to be chucked out like necessarily willy-nilly. It's usually going to be used once the opponent, or once the Kasumi player gets a read on their opponent and they know when they can 12 frame interrupt something with something like that. But generally for DP moves, it's with regards to the meta of DOA, that's something that you maybe want to try and bait out, because again, if the opponent either like whiffs that or does it on like on a block or something like that, then that type of move can be punished pretty hard and can become a big crutch if the person who uses your 7K type move abuses it. All right, I'm gonna be adding another element to the meta right now. The offensive hold, right here. You see right there on the skill info right at the bottom where it says during offensive hold. That means that the move is a catch throw or an offensive hold. These moves beat out strikes. They beat out opponents that block. They do lose to a regular throw, though, a regular T where it says like grab or throw. But these moves can be very sneaky. Anytime you think the opponent's gonna block or is gonna have like a slower kind of retaliation or something like that, then you can usually sneak these in really easy. The thing about these moves is that because they're classified as a hold, if the opponent tries to strike you or something that goes under it with like a 2P or some sort of like move that goes under a stand-in offensive hold, you won't get hit with high counter. So generally offensive holds are less of a risk to toss out than, let's say, a normal throw. Because the only way how you get high counter blown for doing a offensive hold is, well, from a normal throw. So it's mainly just dealing with an offensive hold feels very unintuitive. Because you have to use a throw to beat out a throw. So if your character, such as like Leifang, for example, has an offensive hold, and I'll let you know that pretty much every grappler character or every standard grappler character has these. So essentially, almost every character that has an 11 frame jab has an offensive hold. Like there are some exceptions, like Helena has an 11 frame jab and doesn't have one, but I think almost every other character that has an 11 frame jab has them. It's usually a tool to help out slower characters, but characters like Leifang and like Mila and Janli are exceptions where they're reasonably fast characters that have 12 frame or faster elbows and they still get offensive holds. In Leifang's case, that's because she's considered to be a defensive styled character. She specializes in holds parries, and of course every character has access to like standard holds, but Leifang has special holds too. So with the case of someone like Leifang, her general neutral speeds aren't as important because someone like Leifang or a defensive character also like her or like Damon are based around controlling the actions of opponents. For instance, you could do something that's like reasonably safe on block, like PP6 PP, and now you're -6. So you could do like a parry after, or you could do something like jab on block, then try and like sneak in an offensive hold. Because if you do like a jab on block, an opponent's not gonna try and like do a throw for you. So generally, I mean, the opponent's not gonna have that too much opportunity to beat this out. I mean, the number one way they would is just simply to crouch under it. But simply, if your character has good offensive holds like Leifang, I know, like Mila, like Janli, even Janli's is good, but for different reasons. But Janli's Dragon Guard, I admit, is not as good as like a typical kind of 6T because it's a bit slower. But if your character has a 16 frame offensive hold, those are really good to implement. And basically, you can even base your playstyle around it. Essentially, make your opponent have to account for it. Make them have to do specific actions to. Make them have to use specific actions in order to deal with it. And again, like I said, yes. When they do start 12 frame throwing you for doing it, then yes, you have to mix it up. And Leifang even has like slower offensive holds, like a 20 frame like offensive hold right there, for instance. But yeah, I mean, a big part of the meta in Dead or Alive 6 is just understanding your tools against your opponent's tools. And again, on paper, I'll just say right now, Kasumi's faster than almost anything. So under most circumstances, most characters you'll have to block. But with Leifang in Dead or Alive, Leifang doesn't have to block that often because she has ways to not have to block. Pop quiz! At the start of a round between Leifang and Kasumi, who do you think will get the push buttons first? Let me know your answers down below. If you're playing one of the slower characters such as like Neo Tengu, Bass, and I guess you can also include characters like Lisa, Brad Wong, Bayman, and there's, well, I guess also like Raidu. But generally for like Bass and Neo Tengu, you're considerably slower than like almost any character in the roster. So that basically means though that you could probably guess at the start of a round, what are you generally going to be doing? You probably guessed it. You're pressing the guard button, the H button. That's because with Neo Tengu, the main thing about playing her, especially if you're going to be playing in like close range, which of course I don't recommend that much, it's just that the tools you're going to be working with are going to be very limited, basically just due to speed. Alright, let's say right now here for Neo Tengu, hands down her best move in close range is her P+K. You see right here, it's a 10 frame high, and it gives you a plus 34 stun, does 20 damage. Something that's actually neat about this move, it will actually beat out other 10 frame jabs because it does twice as much damage to them. So it would beat out like Ayane's jab, for instance. It would still lose to 9 frame jabs, but yeah, that's just, you're just gonna be locked down by 9 frame jabbers and have to deal with their speed regardless. But yeah, for Neo Tengu, I mean, your P+K is your best move. What you're generally going to be doing if you're playing someone like Neo Tengu is you're going to guard something from your opponent, look for an opportunity to hit 6 PP, well, the 6 PPP string, even just the first 2 hits, you get a stun, or trying to sneak in 2 PP, highly delayable, 6 PP is also highly delayable. So, I mean, like with Neo Tengu, for instance, in close range, you're just going to be really limited. You also have like a good high crush, but the good thing about Neo Tengu is that she has fewer tools. But the thing is that the opponent really does not want to get hit by P+K. The opponent really does not want to get hit by 6 PP because these moves just basically can they basically just can once you get stunned by Neo Tengu, then you can like kind of like set up her powerful launchers, different things like that. But that's just kind of like the mind game in close range. You're limited, but the opponent doesn't really want to get hit by that. I mean, like, 2 PP is not really that bad. It pushes away quite a bit at plus 11, but 6 PP, P+K, those are really good. But I'll just say right now, if you are playing Neo Tengu, just please don't fight in close range like too much. Like, this button right here is 7P. This creates space. If you play characters that have it, like I think technically Kasumi has one, Ayane has Ayane has a really good 7P, for instance. Like Neo Tengo has one. Lisa has a really good one. Even like Brad, and I think there's like numerous others, but like Neo Tengo and like Lisa have like really good 7Ps along with Ayane. If you're playing an opponent that is really good at fighting like in close or anything, then create your space. So the mind game that you want with Neo Tengo is that you basically want to keep the opponent away. I mean, Neo Tengo has the tools to do that. Even she has this kind of chargeable move, which I admit can be a little gimmicky, but if the opponent gets hit by that a few times, then, I mean, yeah, it can annoy the hell out of them. I mean, once they do start dealing with it, you have to mix it up, but even if, like, if you somehow do this in close range, it pushes back like a crap ton, but I admit that's a more gimmicky example, but you kind of get the idea that what you want to do with Neo Tengo is keep the opponent away. I mean, Neo Tengo, despite being slow in terms of strike speed, she has really good mobility. So again, the characters like Neo Tengo, Ayane, and like Lisa all have like really good mobilities, which can help them a lot when they're dealing with characters that are faster than them. So those are definitely kind of like things to keep in mind. And then Neo Tengo has, for her general gameplay, she just has tools that the opponent just really does not want to get hit by, from like basically all the ones I showed you. I mean, like this thing right here is godlike. Like this is good. And I just showed you that one. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at the metagame or Yomi from around like mid-range, further out, that kind of stuff. So something other than close range. Alright, if you are fighting from around that range, like mid-range, what you want to be thinking about is whether you want to be like poking the opponent. So look for like a good poke move, whether it be like a 3K, 6K, like whatever is like kind of good with your character as a mid-range poke. 3Ks tend to be like pretty good. Alright, so that's one thing to think about, is if you want to like poke the opponent. Like with Mai or 3K is a good option. Another thing you want to think of is, do you want to get in and like try and like pressure the opponent, or do you just simply want to kind of like keep the opponent away? So those are kind of the three things to keep in mind. Basically, keep out or defensive pressure, rush down or offensive pressure, or just simply rush down pressure, or just simply like poking from around like kind of like footsie range. Right, for example, Mai's 3K is really good. It's -7, so you can like do like a little fuzzy guard or something after. The worst thing the opponent can do, I mean, assuming that it's a non-grappler who doesn't have a 6-frame punish throw, is try and neutral throw you. And again, those could be broken with the normal throw. And if they don't try and do neutral throw, then they're going to be usually trying to poke you like with the jab string or elbows, stuff like that, which can be blocked. And if you time your fuzzy guard well, then you can kind of like defend against both potential options. But yeah, if 3K, for instance, were to connect on counter hit, alright, in the back you're at +16. But if you hit the opponent in the gut, you get +20. +20 is good enough for a nice 3P follow-up. Or you can like go for like a launcher right away kind of things. So you're -7 and blocked, and you're +20 if it hits, which allows for a good follow-up. So this basically is a good poking move. 3K is okay, but you only get +4 whether it's counter hit or normal hit. So as you can tell, while you have your skill info out, checking your tools, look for that kind of stuff though. You usually want a move that's good when it hits the opponent and is fairly safe when it's blocked, something like 3K. But that's if you're going for more of a poking kind of style. Like if you do want to get in on your opponent and like Maya stuff like 6-6P or like 6-6K, I know at least you're at -4, but if you can do it further out, then you can actually reduce the negative frames on it. I know it can be a little hard to do, so I have -1, but yeah, even then -1 when you have a 9-frame jab or 11-frame mid barely means anything. And if the opponent doesn't attack like right away, then you can usually kind of like sneak in your pressures. So yeah, so basically look for a move where if it gets blocked, that it's basically obviously doesn't leave you punishable, but has like minimal negative frames, and preferably if it has plus frames, it's even better. Something like Bass's 6-6P plus K actually can leave him at plus frames, dependent on where it connects. Same with like also Tina's running P plus K. Like there's different kind of moves like that. Alright, if you want to do like a keep out game, number one, get really familiar with how doing Korean backdash, the 4-4 hold, which is a really good defensive stance. So I like doing forward back movement during neutral game. And of course, if your character has a 7p, like I already said some in the last section, then like make use of it. Really good for creating space. Complements my fan harassment really, really well. And she also has, you can also get in with like 9p, p plus k, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, mainly just look at your character's tools. Evaluate your own playstyle and look at, do you want to play keep out? Do you want to rush down, or do you just simply like poking? Even though I usually recommend either doing rush down or keep out. I mean, kind of like committing to one of the styles. Although if you're seeing success with poking, then just like continue with that also. All right, but I'll just say like one more thing is just to keep in with regards to like matchups and stuff like that. Since I brought Kula to the beach here, I'll just let you know, this is basically her X Factor move, her 236p. This is her unique tool that is basically not like anything else right here. It's a combo starter that has like pretty good range on it. It has enough, it gives you enough follow-up advantage that you can connect a free break blow, for instance. So as you can guess, this is a really dangerous tool. If the move gets blocked, if the move were to get blocked or anything like that, then you could, if you're doing it in close range, you can jab her for free or do a forward throw. If you were to block it around tip range, you actually can't punish her for that, because most punishment will not reach, because the Diamond Breath has like really good range or anything like that. So what Kula's players may do is try and use it even to like zone or something like that. So in the Kula matchup, that's something that you have to like really account for and try and find ways to deal. Okay, I'm gonna be looking at general metagame things right now. Alright, I'm just gonna be focusing on close range, because that's gonna be the range that I'm gonna be focused on the most for most things. Alright, I'm gonna let you keep in mind right now. This is Dead or Alive, so everyone has defensive holds, also called counter holds. You have 4 of them. You have 7H, 4H, 6H, and 1H. High holds catches all highs. Mid punch hold catches all mid punches. Mid kick hold catches all mid kicks, except for ones that are not holdable. And low hold, which catches all low punches and low kicks. As you see right there, holds have 18 active frames. That's a pretty long time. And they have 12 recovery frames. So if you whiff a hold, you are open to be thrown for essentially 30 frames. So 18 plus 12. If your character has any special parries, standard parries, you see right there, parries have 12 active frames. That's 6 frames less than a hold. So 12 active frames, and they're 18 frames of recovery. So for a parry, you still have 30 frames or half a second in order to punish it with a hold for high counter damage. So yeah, that's the basis for holds. I'll just say straight up, for holds, the main thing is that if you know what the opponent's going to hold out, or if the opponent keeps using like a predictable string or something like that, then what you could do is hold the follow-up. Like something like Kasumi's 6p KK. That goes mid-punch, mid-kick, mid-kick. So if I always do all 3 hits, then you can just do a mid-kick to easily hold the 3rd hit, for instance. Or if I always do like 6p 2k, then if you know I'm going to do it, and if you read it, then you can always like hold the low. And basically, if I'm just elbowing a lot, you can always hold the elbow. Generally, what you sometimes do with holds is like, if you know your opponent loves to elbow a lot, then it's usually okay to toss out holds more often. Because essentially what the mind game is, okay, I know you're going to elbow me, so I'm going to hold your mid-punch. But of course, this is where the extra layer of the metagame goes. If the person who likes to spam elbows knows that you're looking for an elbow to hold it, then they can cross you up with like a throw, for instance. But that's if you get to the next layer of the mind game. That would be like level 3 or something like that. But I don't want to get like too deep. That's just like from like a basic level. Alright, when you're fighting in close range with a kind of a straightforward character, I'm just using Kasumi as an example because it works well for her. The general rule of thumb is that you go, you work your jab, your elbow, or your 2p. Those are the moves you work the most. If you want to stun with a high, then you have your high kick. Kasumi's high kick is 11 frames. You do KK, you stun the opponent, you get plus 19, because nothing else, not that. Nothing else really stuns on normal hit. A 3k gives you plus 4. KK, for instance, is commonly a good go-to stun in high attack, and usually for most characters. Like Ayane's too, same things, really, really good. So she would be at plus 27 for instance, because Kasumi's at minus 27. So, yeah, in DOA, what you want to do is you want to stun your opponent. Hitting your opponent on normal hit is, I'll say in most, you get damage. Like here, in elbow, I get 18 damage, but I'm at minus 11. In Dead or Alive, a lot of moves on normal hit are not good. Some moves are okay, but like I said, I'll go back to like your KK. Some moves like this is good on counter hit. Some slower moves that are like over 20 frames, like Kasumi's 4H plus K, is good on normal hit. So when you're going through a move set, try and look for moves that gives you that at least like plus 19 on counter hit. With plus 19, you can usually easily follow up with a 3P. The reason why I like 3Ps is this is like your go-to lift stun. Lift stun is a gigantic stun that leaves you at like plus a lot. In this case, plus 30 for Kasumi. With plus, the reason why you go for a lift stun, any launcher that you want will usually connect easily on plus 30. So, so basically a flowchart you can go with is stun, lift stun, then launcher. If you have enough advantage, you can just say screw it and launch right away. I mean, obviously, flowcharted too much in DOA is not the best thing, but because in DOA you need like multiple flowcharts. So saying, all right, I don't want you to try and hold me I don't want to give too many chances for you to hold, so I'm just going to launch you right away, kind of thing, and just like go for like a smaller juggle. Because generally, for speaking, yes, your slower launchers do tend to be like your relatively like better ones or something like that, like with Kasumi, like quarter circle back P, like stuff like that, or like also got her 3-3K. But yeah, with regards to like the meta game in general, I mean, for the stun game, what you're thinking of is like, all right, am I gonna extend the stun? Am I gonna launch right away, or am I gonna stun? All right, the opponent's I keep trying to launch with like my mid kick launcher, so the opponent's gonna try and hold that, and then okay, I'm gonna stun you, wait a bit, then go for a hold and get like high counter damage. So yeah, I mean that's the general kind of like mindset you can keep in. If your opponent's being really defensive a lot, then you could be try and shake him up with lows like 2Ps. If you have a low that's advantage on normal hit, for Kasumi that's her 1K. Use this to open up opponents. She can get it out of her PP string. Her 2P's -1 and it does minimal damage, but this, it forces the opponent to have to account for it. And having an 11 frame elbow, for instance, is really helpful. So what I mean now is that, yeah, you can open up your opponents with lows. A low with frame advantage is good. It's 20 frames, so it's barely reactable if the opponent's looking for it, where your 2Ps are unreactable. If your opponent's still standing there, then of course you can open them up with throws. Your 12 frame throw is usually your best throw, but it's also the slowest. Your neutral throw is the fast and is completely unreactable, but it is breakable. And your 7 frame throw is unreactable too. It's 2 frames slower, but it's also unbreakable. Alright, bear with me. The last thing I'm going to go over now is something that's also pretty signature to DOA, the wake-up kicks. Alright, I just said I need to do like a mid wake-up kick. As you see right there, if you block a mid wake-up kick, you are going to be at +6. Now I might as well show the low one also. If you block a low wake-up kick, you're at +9, and you're able to do a low throw punishment. Like so. Mid-kick wake-up kicks are not punishable, so those ones are more favorable to do. Low wake-up kicks are sneakier, but as you see, you can throw punish them, and mid wake-up kicks, so it pushes back a lot, you can't be punished for it. And I'll just let you know, both wake-up kicks are tracking, so you can't sidestep them. And also, low wake-up kicks can be low crushed like easily, for instance. So the opponent's generally going to want to do a mid-kick a lot. So the simplest thing to do is to simply hold them, and mid-kick holds tend to be generally stronger than low-kick holds on average. A lot of times I know they're kind of similar, but generally mid-kick holds tend to be pretty good. So if you know the opponent's going to do a mid-kick, you hold it. If you know they're going to do a low-kick, you either block it and low throw, or you can even like low hold it too. Like either option is fine. So in this case, if for instance you get a knockdown and the opponent's win review is just, don't freely go for a wake kick all the time unless they get hit by it every time, or they're going to start defending against it. So in that case, sometimes what you can do after you get knocked down is just simply like, for instance, I'll just set it to like this, just simply stand back up. Like you can get up, you can tech roll backwards, different things like that, tech around. So for the meta for wake up kicks, when you do get the knockdown, you do have to respect it. But I'll say right now that if you pay attention to them, you can react to them. They're I think about 20 frames. If they do the low one, low crush, or just simply the best for low ones, just low block and low throw. Instead of going for a low hold and the opponent does wake up low throw or some shenanigans like that. Because some people will try and do wake up throw in order because they're thinking that you're gonna go for a hold. They're gonna do that. So I mean, the opponent really shouldn't be doing that either, because if I wait and I see, okay, you're not, if I react and see, okay, you're not doing a wake up kick, then I can end up like high counter blowing you if you try and do wake up throw. So the wake up kicks are mainly used for people that are like trying to pressure when you're on the ground, and they're not pressuring in like an effective way, like they're whiffing over you, stuff like that. They're trying to do ground hits, but it ends up whiffing, and the wake up kick will hit. Like that's usually a time to use it. But if the opponent's sitting there waiting for the wake up kick, then yes, obviously don't go for the wake up kick. The safest thing to do is just simply stand up and block. Let the opponent kind of like pressure you. You can occasionally throw in wake up kicks once in a while to check to make sure that the opponent actually pays attention to them. But the main thing about the wake up kick is it's something there just to exist, because if there are no wake up kicks, then the opponents would just attack you more freely. So it's there. The whole wake up kick system is to try and keep like both characters honest. Alright guys, that's it for now. Thank you for bearing with me as I try and go over the best I can the YOMI of Dead or Alive 6. But anyways, if you do have any further questions, which I assume you might have, feel free to contact me on my YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. So that means leaving a very delightful comment down below. You can also contact Force Nature on freestepdodge.com. And be sure to check out my other character guides and my other top tier tips advanced guides. As you could probably guess, these all start to come together really well, and they do just overlap with each other a lot, and then you get a greater understanding the more you look at them. If you would like to support the channel, feel free to join Top Tier Fighters. The support has helped, and I do appreciate it. Anyways, this is Force Nature signing off from the beautiful Zack Island, Seaside Eden. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips. Have a good one.